This is Jim the Keys bartender coming to you from Key Largo. I'm here with Papa Joe. Papa Joe, it's been a while.
It has. Hey, everybody. How we doing?
Good. Well, you and I are doing well. We're recording. We're not doing it live right now. We could have done it live, but, you know, the internet is such a fickle thing. You know? Like a young lady. You don't know what it's going to... Well, here, the internet is. Oh Christ! I forgot what I was about to talk to you about. You were writing. You got back to writing working on the last 2 chapters of your book.
Yeah, this will be on my second book. I just got the motivation, so I figured, let me do that. And of course, it's always a very frustrating, thing to do. You sit there and henpeck at a computer. My back starts to hurt. You try and walk outside to get a breath of fresh air, and it feels like it's 100 degrees. There's no wind today.
What motivates you to do that? What got you to do that today?
Oh, Jim, if I only knew where this motivation comes from. I mean, I'll call myself a writer.
Okay.
I don't know where it comes from. Some days it hits me, and some days, forget it. There's nothing I can do about it.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of writings. Mine is mainly disjointed, much like Ted Kaczynski's writings, I imagine. Or some, like Sam Berkowitz. Oh, it's not. His name wasn't Sam, but Berkowitz, whatever his name was. He was a serial killer, so... well, this is an eventful week. It is Thursday, June 17th. And
that is correct.
Yesterday, in Monroe County, and this is Florida Keys bartender, and much like the rest of the country, we're dealing with, I guess the more popular places of the country, we're dealing with reopening. And our county commissioners remandated yesterday that every business, every public place, mask will be worn. And that is a reversal from last week, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, didn't they just rule that wasn't necessary?
2 to 3, that it's up to the businesses themselves. And then the reversal was 5-0. So something spooked those last 3 commissioners.
I wonder, Jim, what could have spooked? Maybe, I don't know, the numbers?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what spooked them that much, yeah. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know what they expected.
I would have to think it was...
out of sight, out of mind. And
no, come on. I would like to think they took a look at the new numbers this week and panicked, and rightfully so, because the numbers spiked quite a bit.
They were thinking of history and this, and they did that. They had a whole bunch of other. They're still going to do mini season, which is kind of funny. They're not going to close it down. They're kind of half-assed, trying to protect the Keys. And as that's being posted live on Facebook, when they were posting it, then you have, it seems such a lion's share of the people in the Keys. If they did, polls and polling, it seems to be like 70 or 80% support the wearing a mask out, and a small group of people, 30 to 20%, are opposed to it, but they're so vociferously opposed to it. They're so loud about it, so
adamant. Almost as if it kind of feels almost as if they don't believe there's a virus. That kind of
it's
opposed
funny.
To it.
It's a real small, and you get real pissed off about it. I understand if you're a pretty girl and you don't want to. You want everyone to see your face, or pretty guy, vain person. You don't want to cover up your face, That's
God
forbid
you smear your
They
makeup.
don't know if you're robbing the place, Yeah, There's been a lot of spate of robberies since people had to wear a mask here in the Keys. Right?
Yeah, I think it's more about, I don't want my makeup smeared.
Or, something like that. I'm telling people they just go out. But now it's mandatory, and if obviously, people are going to say, yeah, see if you can make me. Well, I saw firsthand. I was at it. I'm not going to say the place because it may piss off the owners, but the worker there, I was having breakfast, and this guy comes in. I'm sitting at the counter, and they have it marked so you can only sit within 6 feet of each other at the counter. There's only like 3 places to sit, and guy comes in without a mask, a couple years older than me, and she looks at me and goes, "You got a mask?" He goes, "No, I don't have a mask." And she goes, "Well, you got to have a mask." I said, "Can I just cover up my face?" She goes, "Yeah, use your shirt." And then he goes, "Should I go back outside and come back in?" She says, "Yes. Go back outside and come in." She did. She did it all the way. I admired her. She was very good. She'd go back out and come back. She doesn't really give a shit. And if you're a regular down here in Key Largo, you might know who it is. I think she's one of the greatest servers around. I go to see her. And
well, hey, can I tell you
she's
a
not
quick
afraid.
story?
She's not afraid of her. Her name's Patty. She works at Doc's Diners. And if you're visiting the Keys, that's she will not take any shit. What?
First of all, Patty is a gal, and I mean that in the truest sense. She's just an awesome human being. Mm-hmm. But I wanted to tell you a quick story about how some people have gone to the extremes in their theorizing about this virus. And these are locals. I won't mention names, but this is how virulent that small percentage is. It's gone complete conspiracy theory. They quote, references like QAnon, which is a radical, ultra-conservative, doomsday cult almost.
Yeah.
And they're borderline anarchists themselves, but God forbid you say that. But they are convinced that all of this is tied into nothing but to disrupt this administration from doing its job. And they go into great detail. Of course, all they're doing is parroting what they've heard on these memes and internet threads, and they refer to, well, I've done research. And I'm like, well, tell me your references, because when you research, you should have a list of reference material. No, it's QAnon and Breitbart and Alex Jones. And, you can't have an intelligent conversation with an inanimate object, because that's essentially what they've
all I do is like I said before, all you have to say to these people is say, is there anything I could say, any evidence I could produce that would make you feel differently? And if they said no, there's no evidence from any source that you can produce that would make, because if they said Fox, then it would be like Neil Cavuto saying you have to wear a mask because this is real. You know what I mean? Neil Cavuto said it. And then they said, "Oh, he's a puppet," and all that stuff.
Well,
and it's just
exactly that's their answer. Their answer is,
there was just an interview. There was just an interview today. Wall Street Journal interviewed Trump, and Trump views the mask as a symbol of people that don't like him.
Exactly.
They're against Trump, they're wearing it.
Listen,
and they actually have Trump face masks now.
Well,
so I don't know how I see Trumpers. There's Trumpers that have legitimate ailments, and they stop doing it. And there's a lady I'm familiar with who isn't coming to her place of work because she says that her husband is immune compromised because he has limited lung function. But I've seen them out together, and the guy's still spouting his thing. So I'm just wondering whether the lady is just saying that, paying lip service, just to get unemployment. You know, she might be using that as an excuse. That's her excuse for unemployment, but they're still going out and going to the places that the guy can get infected, and obviously they're not wearing a mask because they're big time supporters of the guy. But they'll argue against science. They say, if everyone's wearing a mask, it just makes it harder to transmit. Harder, not impossible to transmit, harder to transmit. So they keep your safe distance, wash your hands, and things like that. That's what they're asking you to do. And back in the mid 1800s, I think it was Dr. Joseph Lister who came up with carbolic acid. It was an antiseptic. It was used on fields of sewage from farms, right?
Okay.
And they used it to disinfect it, to get the smell out. And he noticed that the cows didn't become sick, right?
Interesting.
So, yeah. And then he realized that if they didn't become sick, there must be something, because they knew you're not supposed to drink water or feed your cattle. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sewage. That was bad, and it kills your animals and kills people. And at that time, when people got wounded in the 1800s, the biggest thing after a surgery was infection. If you broke a bone and it was a compound fracture and it perforated surface and stuff like that, that infection that would incur was the part that got your leg cut off.
Right.
Like during the Civil War, there's so many amputees. People amputated not just because they couldn't put them back together. They did it because they couldn't stop an infection. And the surest way of stopping infection is cut it off. And Lister came about and said, the carbolic acid, they were using that. They were disinfecting the instruments, telling people to wash hands, change gloves. He gave directions in the 1860s, right after the Civil War. The people he trained, he told that, wear clean gloves, disinfect your instruments, use antiseptic, and they did it. One of the studies is this kid had his leg. Both studies. He had his leg ran over by a cart, and he had a compound fracture. And they dipped the cotton they put on the wound where the bone broke the surface, and they set the bone. And they dipped it in carbolic acid, and they bound the leg that way, and they kept on doing it, and it turned out the infection didn't begin, and the bone mended. So a lot of times when infections occur and your body's fighting infections, it's not doing other things like having bones knit together and things like that. But at this time, all these physicians were coming out and saying this guy's ideas are crazy, because these doctors did not want to wash their hands. They didn't want to have to take their time. It's a pain in the ass to have to disinfect your instruments.
Well, yeah, it's time consuming, especially in an operating theater if you got a bunch of things to do. So I can imagine they were ignorant and they were resistant to something different like that.
They're resistant to change because it was more difficult. They're making their job more difficult. Of course, my job's more. And then they started wearing masks too, because they knew that when they spoke that they spit out material and stuff like that. That's what we're doing. We're reducing the chance. And if they're talking, and everyone's a mathematician nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's a mathematician. Well, this scale's so fucking what? Whatever. If this stops, one person from dying, it may be worth it. But it's going to stop thousands of people. tens of thousands of people from dying. Tens of thousands. We went to war and spent trillions of dollars over 3,000 people dying in New York, right? The World Trade Center.
That is true.
We went to war.
Yep.
We lost a lot of U.S. service members. A lot of civilians in those countries died. Hundreds of thousands of people died because of that. And we were willing to give up a lot in fortune, right? And inconvenience. And the inconvenience of air travel and all those things in order to combat terrorism. Why not combat the plague that way? I mean, I don't understand. If you could save 20,000 people, why would you do it? What would you, if you told somebody prior to 9/11 how to stop that happening and it inconvenienced them? Let's say, okay, you know what? I'm going to give you a time machine. You're going back before 9/11. What would stop it would be enhanced searching. But it would cause about 45-minute delay in your flight. I mean, your time. You got to arrive at the airport 45 minutes early. But it will save 3,200 people, Americans, from being killed. Would they do it? Or would they not do it because it's inconvenient? It's inconvenient? I'm tired. This is my freedom. You're messing with my freedom. Some ladies on Facebook is giving a speech how a face mask is a black mark on her freedom as an American.
Yeah, but Jim, the difference between 9/11 is we had a common enemy that everyone got to point to and say them. We had a them. And the them were Islamic extremists, a very easy enemy. They came here, they killed our citizens, and even before that, through video, their cruelty was well known. Their absolute inhumanity was well known. So they were easy. It was easy to join together and say, okay, we're in this together to prevent these people from ever doing this again. And we're going to take the war to them. Great. Rah, rah, rah. The plague, the them in the plague amongst a small percentage of Americans, but a very vociferous group, are Democrats and the media. We're the them. If you're a Democrat, you're the them. The media is the them. And now wearing the mask becomes the symbol of liberty, like you just said. And to disobey or to go against the experts, the scientists, which are another group of them, is a show of Americanism and pride.
Yeah.
And the only place they're getting this, the only director of this bad symphony, unfortunately, is the president. And that's the difference between 9/11 and the inconvenience and the virus and the inconvenience. It's who's directing the who to pick out the them, and then who's the them.
Well, yep.
That's a sad state of affairs for this country.
Yep, it certainly is.
I don't know about you, but I get awfully tired about listening to these really unread and some very well read knuckleheads who just paint half of America as traitors. I don't even like it when Democrats use that terminology or use un-American. We have become so divided, we can't even agree on the science of a virus that's killed damn near 120,000 people.
Well, wait.
Now,
wait. You just said it. Science. Science. If you would adhere to science first, and scientists and epidemiologists and doctors, that they're not. They're taking their cues from people who aren't. And there's always a couple, people, outliers out there that are in the medical community that are willing to subjugate their best medical sense for political gain. So they'll side with the businessmen and politicians that have an agenda. And the agenda may not be curtailing the infections. it may be opening the economy, which is very important. I understand it's very important. But if it crashes down, we're not going to get a second wave because it never stopped. It never stopped.
Yeah.
It's already in Texas and Florida. Florida is saying now we're getting more than we had in the heat. You know what I mean? Before, and DeSantis, the governor of Florida, is saying, well, that's because we're testing a lot. Well, no, that's because we're not doing our best to mitigate contact and things like that. Yeah, they're going, it's not as deadly as that. See, their lives are wasted. These people are very unhappy. And they're bet, they don't have a problem with a zombie apocalypse or whatever they think it is. They love this shit. It doesn't matter. They think we're not going to get sick. Well, they're going to get sick. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if statistically they have a higher death rate than, just because of their behavior. They might have a higher death rate. And they may
you would
lose
think
another.
Statistically.
What?
You would think statistically. I mean, if they're going around
just
with
by
no
their
mask.
behaviors and stuff like that. But
Right,
you know what?
right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the problem came, to move on to a lot of the problem came when they rolled out the idea of a mask. People just went ape shit, right? A mask? Are you fucking kidding me? If the CDC came out and had their, let's say Fauci and what is it, Bixby or whatever her name is, they came out and they said, how about, here's something for you. When you go outside and they roll out an outfit, it looks like a spacesuit. If you have to go outside, this is what you got to wear. And then you get the QAnon group and all those people freaking out, right? Then they start freaking out and say, I'm not going to wear that. I'm not going to wear I'm not going to wear that spacesuit. I'm going to go without. That's just too crazy. I'm American. And then they finally say, well, at least wear a mask. Okay, I'll wear a mask. They should have started really radical and brought it back to the mask.
I personally don't think it would have mattered, just based upon listening to some of these people talk.
No, I think if you went way out on a limb, because they always do that. People used to get bitchy about wearing a seatbelt. How about that?
Yeah,
Wearing
I suppose the way you're thinking is make them wear a 4-point harness and then say, okay, but we'll let you wear a seatbelt.
Well, yeah, make her wear a seatbelt, stuff like that. If you had to go, every time you had to go ride a bike, you had to go suited up like you were playing rollerball, with all shoulder pads, knee pads, elbow pads, and shin guards and stuff like that. And then you say, oh, no, just wear the helmet. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's all. I can do that, Yeah. That's why the phase system works. Phase 1, 2, and 3. Say, listen, phase 1 is going to be strict, but phase 2 is going to be better. And then phase 3 is, yeah. But, yeah, and if they did that with social distancing, they could have said, listen, you're going to have to remain, they should have started out, you got to remain 100 feet apart if you're not living in the same house. And everyone go, what? Are you fucking kidding me? 100 feet apart? Well, you can't even go into a restaurant. You can only have one person in there, or 2 people if it's a really big restaurant. That's crazy. And they say, well, how about 6 feet? Oh, I can live with that. Make it all. Give them 2 choices. You have your 2 choices either. And you go like this. You can stay at home and order from Grubhub or adhere to this. But then they get angry and they're taking it out on the workers. So they say, and yeah, you know what? People say you take joy at telling us to wear a mask. Well, you take joy at saying you don't realize that you need a mask. You know you need a mask.
You didn't travel. You didn't travel all the way down to the Keys and not know about face mask. It's been a national conversation for months. Who doesn't have a face mask now? It's like pretending you don't know what a cell phone. It's like pretending you don't know what a cell phone is. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm done with my rant.
No, but it's frustrating, isn't it? It's just frustrating.
Yeah, pretending to go in there. They don't have a mask. I don't have a mask. I don't have any in my car. Oh, well, that's crazy. Do you leave without your wallet, too? Do you have your keys? Oh, I'm surprised you have your shoes on. Do you have your shoes on? Are you wearing underwear? You should ask them all these questions. Did you bring your? Are you wearing underwear? Are you wearing shoes? Treat him like an idiot. You want to be an idiot? If you want to be treated like an idiot, act like an idiot. And don't well, it doesn't matter because the one mask, if you wear the mask, it's only 70%, 30% protection. You need an N95. Now they're the fucking expert. They knew about it. I know their fucking political agenda. They don't want to wear a mask. They don't want to have a car. I'm not going to put one in my car. I'm going to drive around without it. Okay, you can't fucking come in here then. You're not. If you are not aware of the mask rules anymore, you're literally too stupid to be out and about by yourself. You should not be allowed. Yeah. You're not allowed to. You shouldn't be allowed to buy any cutlery if you go out. If you go to a knife store and go, oh well, I see a check mark here. You don't meet the minimum for intelligence levels to own cutlery. So, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
No, it's just again, in my dealings with the few of the extremes in that area, I just shake my. It's like talking to people who are more over the edge, no pun intended, than flat earthers. I actually ran into someone that was convinced the Earth was flat, and I turned right around, and I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it. As far as I'm concerned, these people, they have no validation in life. They should just go to a camp somewhere, some gated, fenced-in property, and bow hunt or do whatever to survive. They really need to be removed from the mainstream in our culture. They're really that stupid. And I hate saying it, but we can argue about the efficacy of a mask, but please don't argue with me that you're wearing one and my wearing one. My concern for your health, yours should be concerned for my health, so that when you don't wear one and you throw your middle finger up at the whole idea, you're really throwing your middle finger up, not at them, but you're really throwing that finger up to me and my family.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing.
That starts, and I feel that anxiety in my neck, the blood pressure, and I really just want to take a baseball bat to some of these motherfuckers' heads if you want to know how I feel about it.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Hey, remember...
That's how I feel about it.
Did you remember the movie Princess Bride?
No.
You never saw that movie?
No. Is it a chick flick? I don't watch chick flicks.
No, it wasn't a chick It was great. The Princess Bride. It was a comedy. Carrie Elways. But God, who was in it? The chick that was married to Sean Penn. Andre the Giant. Mandy Patinkin. Billy Crystal. Okay. Well,
no, didn't say it, but go ahead. Give me the.
Well,
premise.
there's a scene in it where the protagonist is taking his true love through this. It's called the Forest of Despair or something like that. The Dark Forest of Despair. It's kind of like a fairy tale forest, and there's like flames that pop up from the ground and stuff like that, and they escape quicksand and all this stuff, and the princess asked the hero, says, "Do you aren't you afraid of the RUSs?" And he goes, the rodents of unusual sizes, right? And he goes, I don't think they exist. And then all of a sudden, a giant rat jumps out off a tree on top of him. You know, it's just, it was poignant, meaning he goes, well, I don't believe those rodents exist. And then the rodent said, well, I'll show you. You know, and jumped right on top of him. So, Joe, wait, right now, what you said, you made your feelings known, was at the end of the day, the Board of County Commissioners said that it's mandatory. Yes, it's a civil citation. It's $500. A lot of businesses don't want to do that because they're mom and pops, and they don't want to start getting hit with it. And if there's wide mass refusal to adhere to it, they could make the fines more meatier in order to get people's attention. But eventually, I think down here, they said it. People are going to start doing it, and the people are going to start refusing to because they're getting antsy right now with, President Baby Hands. You know who President Baby Hands is?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How he drinks who would have noticed when they got captured a thing? You never see how he drinks water, right? He holds the bottle.
Yeah, Jim, it's just like a stroke victim. That's exactly how a stroke victim picks up a glass of water.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know.
You have diminished range in your right arm. Did you see him when he was walking down the ramp? Pay attention next time you see that video.
Oh, I saw that. I see how he kind of leans forward like
No. Pay attention to his left leg and his right leg.
Yeah.
Watch the action between his left leg and right leg, and then, just before that was yet another clip of him trying to hold up a glass of water. Watch his right arm. Watch the limited mobility in his right arm. I'm telling you, me, I'm not saying he had one.
Why doesn't he use his left?
Probably because the right arm is dominant, and he naturally goes to that. I'm just saying it looks a lot.
Because I'm left-handed.
Like he's a stroke victim.
I'm pretty good. I can drink from both hands. Pretty good.
Just a weird dude, man.
I'm not going to make fun of the guy because of that, knowing he did make fun of people that were disabled.
Oh, I'm not making fun of him. I'm just pointing it out.
No. I'm not making fun of him for that. But don't pretend there's nothing wrong with this son of a bitch. You know what I mean?
Oh, I would definitely say there's something wrong with him, dude.
Mentally and physically now. But on that lighter note, and that's a lighter note for me, we've had visitors. I had 2 listeners come in last night from Wisconsin, Milwaukee.
Oh, how about that, huh? Wisconsin.
Yeah, Milwaukee. Carol and Charles, they own a restaurant, a bar restaurant in Milwaukee. And they're kind of cool. They look like they're pretty hip. And they listen to the show. So that's pretty good. I guess I don't have the typical Rush Limbaugh kind of crowd. I don't have the super hip crowd of like AOC. Maybe like the young, hot Latino American girls, I should say. Which I would love to have.
You don't have a TikTok.
That would be awesome if I did.
Yeah, we're going to have to set you up with a TikTok, and you do all the.
No, that would.
The
you know what?
Dances.
You heard of cultural appropriation, that would be age appropriation.
Yes, exactly.
That would be so shameless, and I wouldn't do it. But I'd like to thank Carol and Charles for coming in and introducing themselves, and they said they're going to be back. And they invited me to stay. I could come by. I think they said that. I don't know if they were inviting me to stay. I think they said someone said they had a place to stay if I came. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading into it. Now they're going to come in and say, we didn't say you could stay above the bar. We didn't say that. So,
quit packing your bag, Jim. You're not there yet.
I know. Milwaukee, well, if you ever... Okay, I know a movie. Now, it's funny you said chick flick, and I thought you would like a couple of chick flicks, but you don't like any chick flicks?
I'm generally... I mean, no. In a general sense,
How about
it's not like
Love Actually?
No.
You never saw that?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
okay. I was going to give you the
there's a scene
closest
in
thing
that
to a chick flick.
There's a scene in that where this British guy decides it's a bunch of small stories inside a bigger movie, and this British guy who's in his 20s decides that British girls are all stuck up, and American women are more uninhibited and free thinking and more beautiful. So he decides to go, sublet his apartment, and spend all his money on a ticket to go to the United States. And his buddy's saying, "You're mental. That's crazy. That's not true." So he gets a ticket. He goes to Milwaukee. From London, England, goes to Milwaukee, right? And then he gets into a taxi cab, goes to the cab driver, goes, "Where to, buddy?" And he goes, "Take me to a bar. Just a bar." And he takes it to a bar. He ends up meeting these three beautiful women and who invite him to their house. I mean, it was cliche after cliche, And it ended up being four beautiful women he was involved with. So, yeah, crazy. Where the hell did I get on that story? Oh, Milwaukee. It was Milwaukee. Are you there?
Yeah, what about it?
No, it was in Milwaukee. That's where he went. He went to Milwaukee, where Carol and Charles are from. So,
hey, listen, the closest thing I get to a chick flick is
Eat, Pray, Love.
Check. No, About Schmidt.
That was not a chick flick.
Yeah, as good as it gets.
Okay. Well, that was a thinky one. That's a thinky one. That was a man and woman thing. No, that's a good movie.
Yeah.
How about Silver Linings Playbook?
No, I'm telling you, I'm pretty averse. They don't draw my attention.
It's not a chick flick.
If shit's not, no, it doesn't matter. If shit's not blowing up,
you're missing a lot of good movies, brother.
You know what?
I love a good adventure movie myself. I love a pretty good. What's your favorite James Bond movie?
I like Casino Royale. Casino Royale, the new one.
The
new one.
Yes. I will argue that's action-wise and style-wise the best James Bond movie.
I would agree.
Just the filming of it, the music. I mean, I loved some of the old Roger. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about. Scotsman. Who is it?
The actor?
Sean Connery.
Oh,
I love the Sean
actor.
Connery
Okay.
ones. One, maybe Live and Let Die was all right for me. I wasn't a big fan of the other Roger Moore movies. Just like two or three of that. But I'll tell you, Daniel Craig really stepped up in that one.
Yeah, he did. I'm so glad they got him for one more.
Yeah.
And then that's it. They're off to find someone else again.
He stayed on so long that one of the guys that was supposed to replace him aged out of the part. You know that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
The black dude. Christ. He's a really good actor, too. Jesus Christ. British guy. But, yeah, he was supposed to play him. They're talking about maybe a woman.
Well, I mean, I certainly hope they don't call her James Bond, but she could be a 007 because the number depicts the position. It doesn't depict the name.
Yeah. Yep.
No, I mean, if you read
I
any
didn't know with 007 you needed to have 2 confirmed kills.
Yeah.
A double O. not a
double O. Yeah,
a double O. Yeah.
I mean, if you read the books, that's where it goes. That's
there's only
why
10,
it's that way.
What, are there only 10 of them?
I don't remember if that's in the book, and I don't know.
How many extras do you have? You know, do you go 0017, 0020, 01334?
Yeah, you got me. Whatever
number?
Her Majesty requires.
Okay. Speaking of that, no, that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say about that. Well, this is the end of the show. We did about 40 minutes. That was good. Yay! The weather's rainy today. Come down to the Florida Keys. I want to thank Papa Joe for being here. I'm going to let you talk. I just want to remember something before I say goodbye. Oh, follow us on Facebook, Twitter. If you know, maybe I should say more stuff. I try not to say anything too nonsensical. I mean, I'll save it for the show. If it's really nonsensical, I will. Why put it in printed form? But what's the difference nowadays, right? So yeah, follow me on follow the show on Facebook, Twitter. Subscribe to the show. Share it with your friends. Share the shit out of it. Okay, and you know, like Carol and Charles and all my friends, all of the listeners in different places around the world too. Thank you for listening. And you have anything to say, Papa Joe?
No, just I wish everyone well, be safe, and love each other.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one. I hear that one. Oh yeah, and Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Happy Father's Day to my father, Jim.
Yeah.
Jim
right
Sr.
around the corner, isn't it?
Yeah, Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we're going to celebrate today because I'm working Sunday night. So, but that was it. That was great, Joe. Thank you very much. I'm going to start playing the music.
You're more than welcome.
And 3, 2, 1. You're welcome to sing along if you want.
Play that funky music, white boy. Not that music? Are we playing different music?
I'm playing the music right now, so that's good. I like all that sound effects behind it. Well, I am 0.5% Eskimo. You know, I found that out.
Are you really? Just 0.5%?